Family, glad to be back with you. Hope you've been having a fantastic week. It's been a good week for me. I cannot complain at all. I am blessed, truly, truly blessed, because this harvest season has been wild for a lot of people. But even for myself, I haven't escaped much. But in spite of the season, I have been blessed. We're gonna start this week how we normally do. I welcome everybody. I appreciate you spending a little time with us. Okay, I want to make sure that the sound workers listen. Last week for book club, we went through it, right? I don't know what was going on, but man, It was almost like one of those first shows when we first started out. It used to be super wild, right? We almost forgot about those, right? I won't sweat it. I was gonna type a message, but got a couple things. We're going to continue our series on reprogramming our mind. We've talked about several things, and we're going to use a couple of them to address our traumas, right? And but something I've been trying different, because we've been doing our energy. We do our breathing exercise, and we do our sound bowl, and something else I've been trying to add to the mix is a little bit of light therapy. So I'm trying to make the lighting match the chakra that we're dealing with. But one of the more difficult lighting, I feel like, is probably indigo. And I don't really have any black lighting, and purple is for something else. So this is close as I can get the indigo, and we're going to use that in our visualization. So we're going to start with the bowl. Oh, one more thing. I started putting the link in the chat. So if somebody is feeling confident, they can join and get a free reading. You know what I mean? So at any moment, we may have to take a pause in our lessons and begin to get into the action of helping somebody, you know what I mean, get some direction in their own healing processes, right? Hey, Toddy, you need to comment or something. Don't just be sneaking in here. I appreciate your support as always, Lady Promoter, too. And I seen you too, Keisha, so I appreciate you as always, too. Yeah, I need to actually have a conversation with you and check on you, see how you doing. But we're going to use our small bowl today. I might do some throat chakra work myself. I couldn't get the bowl up. My seer. I'll consider that. Thanks for that, brother. I've been practicing my Polish too. Let me think what I know. I know mleka, kobieta. I know that very well. Mezinchinska. I know that very well. Um, I'm learning on Ona. As a matter of fact, I'm on. I know Miss Chesnica, that man. So I promise you, brother. I've been practicing. So pretty soon, I'm gonna get there, and I'm gonna let you know. But I've been just so I've been practicing, brother. For you, I appreciate your support, man. As always, I appreciate everybody. But thank you. But I kept my word to you, brother. I've been on it hard lately. So I do it. I practice every day. You know what I mean? And my goal is I got a friend that use Duolingo. I know we got sidetracked, which happens all the time. But I have a friend that use Duolingo, so I use it as well. I've been using it for a while. But they hit a goal of 365 days. So I'm trying to tap into that energy, and I'm trying to hit 365 on Polish and Spanish. Spanish gonna be a little bit easier because it's more of a refresher. Because I took 3 years of Spanish in school, but Polish is the accent's throwing me off, man. I ain't even gonna lie, but I'm gonna learn as long as I can speak it. I'm not too pressed about writing it as well, and I can read it. I don't have to write it, right? Okay, so something my spirit just said I need to check my own throat. I said something about it. I just want to see because I could not get that bowl going the way we needed it to. So I want to see where I am at myself. All right, makes sense. It's off. It ain't off. I mean, it's off balance. It's not off. So I'm communicating. I'm communicating something. I don't know what. Mleko. I tried, man. Listen, I tried. I know Volde too. PA Walde. So I know that. I've been learning short sentences so I can say PA Walde. Um I mix up jest and jestum, but jestum majestica. So I'm I'm serious with it, brother. I promise. So people, man, listen. This is an example of opening your horizon and an exchange of energy. Masir has been a good supporter of the program, as well as a couple of people that I called out earlier, including Sherry. I seen you. I've been practicing for real, including Sherry. So some ways that I give back is investing into things about them. You know what I mean? Um. Oh, okay. I ain't having no problem. I am having a little problem with expressing myself. You know what I mean? I ask people to do stuff like this all the time. So this is me being, vulnerable and honest with you. I am having a little issue with expressing myself. Um, Ironically, it's partly because I don't want to be seen as criticizing. I am being a little stubborn. I guess I got that going on. I don't have any issues with speaking in public now. I just got to do that all the time. So I got over that. Uh, And I guess I'm having a little slight issue with speaking my truth, although I think I do a very good job at speaking the truth. Valid. I will turn down the noise cancellation next time. So we are on our, where we at, our third eye? Yes. And the light color is indigo. I'll have to get some black lights or something. So, and the element for your third eye, which resides right here, is light. So we are going to do, I think what the breathing exercise that goes well with this, with light element, is the sun moon centering, the one we started the other day. But it's not just a count, it's just a visualization. But this time I want you to close your eyes, clear your mind of all thoughts, worries, concerns. Just go blank mind. And above your head, I want you to picture a indigo colored circle. And it's folded in, so it's a lighted circle. And I want you to imagine it there for a second. And as you breathe in, you bring that light down to cleanse that specific spot. All right. So on my count of 3, we're going to breathe in and bring it down to our third eye and so forth. So right now, imagine this helping you clear those thoughts. It's sitting right here in your crown area, right above your head. And it's clearing thoughts of worry and anxiety and fear. And on 3, you breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Bring it down to your third eye. And release. Let it clean a little bit. Let it heal your intuition and build the trust that's necessary for you to continue to believe in yourself. On 3, breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Bring it down to your throat. Let it sit there for a second and let it clear away your concerns of being seen as criticizing, your fears of correctly expressing yourself and speaking your truth. And on 3, we're going to breathe in again. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Bring it down to your heart and release. Let it leave love. You feel it filling you with love. And on 3, breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Bring it down to your solar plexus, your stomach, and release. Let it sit there and definitely work on that anxiety. Let it clear the negative emotions and fill you with positive emotions. On my count of 3, breathe in and bring it down to your sacral. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in and release. Let it heal your passions. The fire inside of you is creating the spark. On the count of 3, breathe in again. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in and bring it down, all the way down to your root in your feet. And just imagine the light just working on you and allowing you to feel grounded and reconnected and not so lost. Now we're going to do it in reverse, but we're just going to breathe it all the way through, all right? On 3, breathe in and bring it up. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, bring it up to your sacral, and release. On 3, breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, bring it up to your solar plexus, and release. On 3, breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, bring it up to your heart, and release. On 3, breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, bring it up to your throat, and release. On 3, breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Bring it up to your third eye, your forehead, and release. On 3, breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, bring it up to your crown, and release. And while you're there, I want you to repeat after me. I trust my intuition. My imagination is powerful. I think clearly. My third eye sees all. I trust my intuition. My imagination is powerful. I think clearly. My third eye sees all. Yeah. All right. So that is our third eye reset. And now we get started with the action. Don't embarrass me. Okay, family. So before we jump into it, let's see. 1 second. All right, I want to share something with you today. I mean, over the weekend, I did something. Well, I buy a lot of stones, but I'm excited because I bought a couple of things that I want to share with you. So I bought this big, you saw it sitting over there. Oh, and I bought that turquoise pinky ring too. So the rock is citrine, and it is for abundance of one of many things that it is for. But I definitely got it for abundance. When I walked in there, it spoke to me. It's citrine. I know it looks like amber. Somebody else thought it was golden healer too, but it isn't. It's citrine. It definitely does. It definitely does. You start getting into them, they start looking a little different, but it is citrine. Oh God. So when I walked in there, it was the one that spoke to me. You know what I mean? I was torn between that and this red amethyst, but I know I can get a better deal on red amethyst buying it from the guy I bought the black amethyst from. So I'm going to wait until my opportunity or look for his card because I got it somewhere. Probably in my stack of cards where I got a lot of information that day. I forgot to put the word on the board, but remember last week we added another word to our words of affirmation, and that word was safety. Remember, safety is one thing that we want to be looking for in our relationships and interactions, places that we feel safe and secure, right? But we also have to make sure that we do our part to create that safety and nurture that safety, because we too have to be a safe place if we want to be in a safe place, right? So what were we talking about? Okay, so over the last couple of weeks, we've been all over the place, really, but we have been talking about how our minds were programmed. And they were programmed through, if you recall, it was trauma, suggestions, symbols, and repetition. And we took time and we discussed each one of those things to see how these tools are used to program our mind, because those will be the tools that we use to reprogram our mind. They are very successful tools and they work, right? So the one thing that we are going to do is address our trauma. And trauma is one major thing that programs our mind. And so that we're on the same page, trauma in our definition is going to be a distressful or disturbing event. That's simple, right? And how trauma winds up attaching to you is basically by its intensity and its frequency. So it can be something that happens frequently, or it can be something that was very intense only one time. And it has a tendency to change or alter how you interact in this world, right? What we're going to do to address our trauma, because that's going to be the overarching thing that programs us, is we're going to use these other tools: suggestion, repetition, and symbols, to reprogram our mind and address our traumas. The funny thing about traumas is they give you the opportunity to address them because they revisit. And every time they revisit you, you have to utilize a skill set so that your trauma doesn't take over you or alter who you are, right? The first tool we're going to use is suggestion. I think suggestion is a fantastic tool, and we use it already all the time, but we're going to be aware of how we can use it to program our mind. So what is suggestion? Suggestion is just an idea or a thought put forth for consideration. That's the definition we're going to use. Excuse me, I need a little water. I'm dry. Toddy, I appreciate the compliment. I actually put on my you can't tell. If I change the lighting, you can see the color of the jacket. But in this lighting, it looks pink. But it ain't pink. It's salmon or something. Liberty, I'm glad you could join for a little bit. I appreciate you. I sent a message to you, wanted to check on you for a little bit, but I'll reach out again. Don't worry. I appreciate both of you all, as always. But the tool that we are going to use to address our traumas is suggestion. And our definition of suggestion is simple. It's just an idea put forth for consideration. So first, how does suggestion show up in our lives? One of the main ways, I broke this down into two main ways that we wind up dealing with suggestion. There is conscious suggestion and then unconscious suggestion. Conscious suggestion comes in several forms. One form is from other people, right? How we get constantly suggestions from other people is most significantly in the form of advice or direction. Even though that these suggestions can be well intended, they do and can have the power to alter how you interact within this world, right? Another way that people or how suggestions is our life is from people's personal experience. And that's that space of vicarious learning. If we see somebody go through it, it creates a suggestion in our minds, right? If we go through it, it creates a suggestion in our mind. If somebody goes through it and tells us about it, it creates a suggestion in our mind. From this information, this advice, or this experience, or these intentions, or even better, these testimonies, which most people don't give, they give the advice part, have the tendency to shape your life. And the wild thing about it is what I've said, and I say it to you all the time. One of the reasons we do this is because no one really wants our advice. Every one of us has the autonomy and the authority to make every decision, make any decision we want for our life. So your advice may or may not be helpful. But what is always helpful is our testimony. Testimony is the most powerful form of suggestion. You being vulnerable enough to share your story, you being receptive enough to receive somebody's testimony, not just the trauma, but how they got through the trauma, how they no longer bear the burden of those traumas. The stories that people hold so close to their heart that we don't like to share is our most powerful form of suggestion. And one way we can use that to reprogram our mind is there is power and freedom in releasing your testimony. Not only does it become a powerful suggestion for someone else's life, hearing it out loud, hearing you put it into the atmosphere, makes it a powerful suggestion for your life. And as I said, there is freedom in sharing your testimony. Now, another way that suggestion programs our minds, or how we utilize suggestion, is ourselves. We have more control over ourselves and how we interact. And the most powerful tool for suggestion for us when it becomes to ourselves is self-talk. How do we think about ourselves? How do we talk about ourselves? Are we speaking a language of life? Or are we speaking a language of death? I remember when we first started doing the show, I talked about how my friend pointed out how I actually was speaking a language of death, even though it was intended to be funny. So, like, for example, I tell a joke, I'm known to make people laugh. I'm pretty good at making people laugh. I'm funny. I think so. And other people have said I'm funny too. But I go to tell a joke, and after I tell that joke, I will be like, I know I'm crazy. And we said that Calling myself crazy is not speaking life into myself. But I could say that same thing by calling myself funny. What type of language are we speaking to ourselves? What type of language are we allowing others to speak to us? And what type of language are we exposing ourselves to? Cherry, you don't want the TikTok. I appreciate you. Hey, Liberty, I'm sure I'm aware of a recent release that you've had. And I'm sure it was a weight off your shoulders. And I'm also sure it put a new one on your shoulders. But soon enough, you'll be able to get that one off your shoulders. And then you experience a new level of freedom that you have not experienced before. And even though our situations may not be similar, the path to freedom will always be the same. And one thing I know, because I've sacrificed many times for this thing called freedom, I know the path. And at this moment right here, what keeps popping in my head, and I've probably said it before on this show, I hated in school. They made us learn Maya Angelou's crystal staircase. But it makes sense because she said life for me ain't been no crystal staircase. You feel me? So you like poems. If you don't know that Liberty, I check out that one. But self-talk, the language that we use, how we talk to ourselves, is one of the most potent forms of suggestion because it occurs on two levels, conscious and unconscious. Right? But we'll discuss that a little bit. No, we are talking about that now. So self-talk is the one that happens on a conscious and unconscious level. Because consciously you say things about yourself, and then unconsciously it happens in the things that you allow yourself to hear. Right? Another way that we use ourself in conscious suggestion to program our mind is through perspective. Perspectives are the perfect example of the possibilities are endless. But a lot of times, because of our traumas, we only allow ourselves to see one, maybe two perspectives. And those perspectives are usually the most burdensome perspectives to have, even if they're well intended as a perspective to protect yourself from potential future trauma. You could be preparing yourself to bring that trauma back to your life by the perspectives that you take. Perspectives can either be your cage, or perspectives can also be your wings to freedom. So, what perspectives are you taking towards these events, these distressful events that you've experienced? And as we kind of tiptoed around outside of those are two conscious ways that suggestions work in our lives. And it's through other people and through ourselves. Unconsciously is something I've been alluding to the whole time we've been talking. And it's what, we allow ourselves to hear. And the strongest form of the strongest form of unconscious suggestion is through media. And by media, I mean all forms: music, social, TV, all forms, books that we read, books that we listen to, all forms of media, because they always have underlying suggestions. Sherry, I'm address that. It was gonna come up a little bit later too. But since you said you haven't done anything and you think that you need therapy, and this is the perfect example of perspectives, right? Because right there you gave two perspectives. And as a person that knows you, and I can't say I've known you all of your life, but in the time that I have been connected to you, I've seen various highs and proverbial lows. And as a person from the outside looking in, and a person that's offering you a suggestion, a powerful suggestion, I would be hard pressed to say you haven't done anything. And I think the reason you may have said that is around the idea of consistency. And we are taught through media and suggestion that consistency is the same thing every day. The same amount. You give 100 every single day. But doing something every day is routine. It's not necessarily consistency. Consistency comes with highs and lows. Some days you got 100%. Some days you got 30. Some days you got 50. Some days you got 70. And that, combined with showing up, is consistency. Right? And I know you have done a lot. And need therapy? I would say that open your mind to all various forms of therapy. One of the reasons that I start trying to use the lights, the color of the lights, because there is this idea of light therapy. And light does have healing properties. And if you sit in certain colors of lights, it can affect and adjust your emotions. And that can be a sense of therapy. One reason we use the bowl, and you may want to get some bowls, or I use my rain stick, which I don't use on here, but I should, on my wave drums, on my ukulele, or any of my sound equipment, is there's also sound therapy. Don't put yourself in so much pressure to go to one type, and explore as you've always have. And most importantly, why I'm giving you this long soliloquy is give yourself grace. Last night we had our men's call, and a guy came on there who comes on. I mean, he's on there enough where we know who he is, and he's a healer and all this other stuff. It's fun. Dude named Rick the Healer, because he's a healer. You can find him. It's the only reason why I said his name. But he talked. He started talking, and he said, and one thing he said that he's decided to invest in himself for the last 10 years, right? And that statement alone became like a nice little gut punch for me, because it put in perspective on how much work and how much time you need to invest in yourself. There really is no stopping point, right? You got a starting point, and you really ain't that far from the starting point, as compared to somebody who's decided to invest in themselves for the last 10 years. There are things that they know that we are only beginning to learn. And when you are intelligent, you're used to knowing. So find comfort in not knowing, and give yourself grace that you are doing the work, girl. Yep. Use the light. Honestly, when I take my spiritual baths, I usually do a couple of things. So, I do the water. So whatever I put in my water, I do lights. I got some lights. And I just let it go through all I don't know. I'll pick whatever my spirit, because it's a bunch of different patterns that I could pick. And I always do a candle. I always do a fire thing too. Because at any moment, if you need something to kind of help clear your mind when you're taking like a spiritual bath or something like that, that flicker of that flame in that candle becomes a fantastic focal point. Or you just kind of stare at that for a little bit, and trust me, you will get lost. And then you're like, man, I can't believe I've been staring at a flame for a minute. So try to combine them all. You know what I mean? If you don't have that time, do them one at a time. Before I started this show, I was enjoying these lights. Listen to all type of music and everything. So yeah, light therapy is very good. Then it's art therapy too. So that's for the kids that go crazy. Girl. Hey, in that case, if you like Christmas tree lights, I would really suggest, I got a disco light, right? I would consider getting you can get you a little cheap. I got a little, it ain't even nothing expensive. I just got it nailed on the wall. But I got a little disco light. So at any moment in time, you can get that lighting effect of a Christmas tree when it ain't Christmas time. So consider getting a disco light too. That it goes hard. And when I do my sessions, everybody like the disco light now too. I'm sorry we got so sidetracked, but it happens. We go with the vibe and the flow, family, right? Let's see where we at. Okay. But as we were saying, through media. So the books you read definitely offer suggestions and direction in your life. So if you're feeding yourself things that are not necessarily affirming, then you are definitely unconsciously suggesting yourself. And it may not be in ways that are supportive of your real goals. For example, social media is very suggestive. There's always thoughts and ideas and pictures and everything. But social media is so inauthentic a lot of times that if you base your life on that, there comes a certain level of delusion, because social media is a place for entertainment. And entertainment isn't always grounded in reality. It just has to be entertaining. As a matter of fact, I just heard a story about a rapper I like, Pimp C, and Bun B was taking it. If you don't know this, Pimp C and Bun B from UGK, and they did that song with Jay-Z, Big Pimpin'. And in that video, I don't know where they're at, but it's hot. Everybody else is dressed like it's hot. And Pimp C has on a fur coat the whole video. Fur coat. And Bun B saying that they said, hey man, it's too hot for that fur coat. It's too hot for that fur coat. And Pimp C's reply was, TV ain't got no temperature. He knew that entertainment did not have to be based in reality. It was too hot for a fur coat. But because entertainment does not have to be based in reality, that fur coat makes sense in that video. So, things like the TV shows that we watch. Like I used to love ID Channel and those crime shows and things like that. But do you know how unconsciously suggestive those things are? They will make you over time start looking at people, the majority of people who like they're criminals. They will produce a level of fear in you that you don't even recognize. You'll just be moving different because you're seen on TV. And the thing about that is how that affects us is it really just allows us to develop tools to interact with the minority of people. The majority of people are not doing things like that. They may be a little bit off. People are people and they're going to people. But the majority of people are not out here harming other people. And that unconscious suggestion, like crime is out of control and all these things are out of control, that unconscious suggestion changes the way that you interact with society and people. And there are so many life lessons through the testimony of people that you miss because you're only equipped to interact with the minority of people, the people who are suspicious. You can't even recognize the people who deserve immediate trust, immediate respect, because the unconscious suggestion has always been to be somewhat suspicious and hesitant, right? Let's see where we at now. Okay, now we at this part. Listen, one of the hardest questions you want to know, a question that we're at now is how do we use this? And even though we're going to talk about repetition a little bit later, it will be through routine. And it's funny because one of the hardest questions that I've gotten, and it's shown up. Listen, one person asked me this question, and it was funny because I don't even know if they can tell that they put me on the spot. And I really was at a loss of words. And I gave them an answer, but it wasn't even an answer that I was confident in. It was a truthful answer, and you can definitely do it. But it just wasn't an answer that I was confident in. And the question was very simple. Where do I start? 4 words. And as much as I've told you all, or as much as we've discussed how the questions can be simple, but the answers can be complex. They asked me that question and I was stuck. And I gave them a little suggestion. And that question has shown up in my life ever since they said that. So I've had to really think about where to start. And the difficult part about is how honest can I be about where to start? Because as we discussed, I've lived many different lives in this one timeline. So I've started over and started this process several times in my life. Do I tell you to start when you're 10 years old and learning and reading and writing stories and papers on Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X? Do I tell you to start then? Do I tell you to start in middle school and exploring your friends' churches? Or do I tell you to start when you're 17 and read Behold the Pale Horse and be a 5%er? Do I tell you start at 25? Where you look at your life and you like, hey, I got to do something different? Or do I tell you to do at 30 and just jump out there and do a crazy risk? Or do I tell you to do it at 40, start at 45 and do a show on healing? How do I be honest with that question? And I thought about it and I thought about it. And the simplest way I can tell you where to start is not when, but where. And where to start is self-analysis. Be brutally honest with yourself. Be brutally honest in your thoughts. Use the exact words that are necessary to elicit the emotions for change. For example, I had this conversation with a friend that said they recognize that they can be stressed. And I told them, no, you're not stressed. You're depressed. And even putting that word on it changes the trajectory of your life. And the reason I did that is because stress takes one medicine. Depressed takes a different one. And if you feeding your depression stress medicine, you'll never get out. Because depression doesn't just come from stress. It comes from suggestion. It comes from repetition. It comes from accountability for your life choices. It comes from trauma. It comes from a multitude of emotions and words that blend together and shows up very differently in everyone. But start with a self-assessment. And I would say that self-assessment is similar to what we call a community assessment. And I say that because in your self-assessment, it will really be a community assessment. You will need to ask people to give you the truth. You will need to ask people you know. You will need to be receptive of those people who don't know you, but offer you random pieces of advice. You have to, whether you write it down or you think it out or you speak it, you need to really, really do a self-analysis of who you are and why you move the way you do. And if these movements, decisions, and behaviors are based on trauma, Are they responses to trauma? Then the next step that I think you will want to try is, and where we are now, I wish I had known this step when I first started. Analyze the advice that has been given to you. Because like I said, it may have been well intended. It may have even been useful, but it may not allow you to navigate this world as your authentic self. Because like I said earlier, it may only prepare you to deal with the minority. I remember when I was a kid, we lived in New York City for a while, and I've shared that with you all. And one thing my mama says is, speaking of myself and my brother, we needed to live in New York for that period of time so we can learn how to deal with that type of people. And most of the people that we dealt with when we were in New York, a city that's full of a bunch of different people, was poverty. And one thing I know is poverty is everywhere. So even though my mother may have felt that that's an experience that we needed, and it was an experience that taught us a lot. But now that I'm here and I can review the advice that was well intended for me, and being honest, the only thing New York taught me was how to survive in New York, because it didn't work anywhere else. I remember when I first moved down here, the first thing I saw happening was people from New York getting beat up. And I immediately know and learn immediately, vicariously, because that is a powerful suggestion, witnessing someone get beat up from where they're from, right? Powerful suggestion. I immediately learned a lesson. It ain't where you're from, it's where you're at. So review the advice that was given to you, because although it may have been well intended, it may be the advice that puts you in a box. Or, like I said, it could have been useful, but now it's time to put it down, because life has taught you your own tools. Or you might recognize you need to develop tools for the majority and no longer subject yourself to the minority. Because how suggestion works is what we subject ourselves to, right? Where we at? What time is it, family? You know, we've been on for a minute. We're a little bit over. Hello, Pablo. I appreciate you joining for a little bit. It's a show on healing, and Thursdays we do a book club. Right now we are talking about, you don't caught on, the power of suggestion and reprogramming our mind. So next thing you want to do is start to use suggestion for yourself. So create and utilize suggestion. And I will do it unconsciously. Start listening to affirming things, positive frequencies. Start reading positive things that make you smile instead of get you so involved in the darker side of things. Use the affirmations. Create affirmations for yourself. Even though I give you affirmations, that is just a foundational point for you. You know you better than I do, and you do have the ability to heal yourself. So that means you have the power to create suggestions for yourself and affirmations for yourself. So do that. Create some affirmations. Start hanging affirming things on the wall. Or get into things like this, because these are tools. Like I use my stones. There was a point I didn't have any stones. And although I know that energy resides within me, I've always been a person that likes working with his hands. That's why I like science. It was the only class that you got to do. You're always doing something with your hands. So I enjoy tools, physical tools, not just the non-physical tools, but I enjoy tools. I have tools. I know how to work on a car. I use tools, whether it be instruments or rocks. Start to utilize suggestions for yourself and get some tools. Be mindful of your spelling. Not just when you write, but when you speak. Be mindful of how you are speaking to yourself, how you are speaking to others, how you allow others to speak to you, how you allow others to speak around you. Because it does change the frequency within you. You got to think energy is attractive. And it attracts all types of energy. Remember that. My back. So again, utilize suggestions for yourself through affirmations, through music and media, through how you utilize social media. Start making sure you have more positive sites on there. And over time, you start noticing a little different in your energy. Analyze the advice that you have been given. No matter how well intended, make sure it's coming from a place of healedness and prepares you for what you will majorly endure for your life. Right? So as much as I've learned to navigate poverty, I ain't planning on living in that the rest of my life. So I did not need those skills for the rest of my life. I needed other skills. So living in survival was not my goal. So move out of survival, because I'm sure it wasn't your goal as well. Do that self-analysis. Be brutally honest with yourself. Do not start using those words that make it more palatable about who you are. This is what they mean by shadow work. Be brutally honest about where it's coming from. And most importantly, be openly receptive. Because as you ask people, as you open yourself to answers about yourself, you will receive these answers, right? And everything that you learn about yourself isn't going to be easy to receive, but it is necessary in this process. If you don't see it, you can't heal it, right? That's it for today's show, bro. We're about to wrap this up, so I hope y'all enjoyed. I'm trying to turn it around to the front camera, so that's why I'm always looking off on the side, because I got two cameras, one right here, and then you guys right in front of me. And then, I'm always reading stuff too. Oh yeah, not guessing. Did we get any guess? I ain't even pay attention. Nope. All right, there we go. So family, I appreciate you. We finished The Alchemist this week. We finished it on Thursday, last Thursday that just passed. So we are going to start a new book. And I think we are going to do, we are going to do the Celestine Prophecy. And one of the reasons I want to do this is because people are not really aware of their control mechanisms, and they don't realize how often they utilize them to manipulate people. It's just been regularly showing up in my life. And I think it's of me having to point that out to people, not me using control mechanism to manipulate people because I don't care. Woo. So we are going to start the Celestine prophecies on Thursday with book club, and next Tuesday I'm still here. So we will start working on one of the other tools. I think we will use symbols to help reprogram our mind. That will be our next discussion. And as always, family, I appreciate you. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. If you aren't able to make it back for Thursday, Sherry, I appreciate you as always. Toddy, I'm glad you hung on for a while. Surprised y'all ain't talked to each other this time. Keisha, I don't know if I can still see you, but if you dare, Lady Motor, all your family, I appreciate you. Appreciate you. I see you. Just in Michigan. That's gonna be crazy when I learn Polish. Man, that's gonna be bananas. I can't wait. But I appreciate you as always, family. Much gratitude. Thank you. And I'll see you Thursday.